Hi everybody, my name is Sonia. I write under SM Carrière, and today I'll be reading from my book Skylark. I'll put it on this side so you can't really see it because of the lighting, but it's a gorgeous cover. Nathan did a really good job with the design. Published, of course, by the wonderful folks at Renaissance Press. I'm going to read a little bit of chapter 1 just so it establishes the character before I move on to a tiny bit of chapter 2, and hopefully, if I timed it right, I'll be doing well. Okay. Lieutenant Benjamin Skylark Sky stared blankly at the wall of the transport he shared with the newly formed United Space Corps Strategic Division Team 6. Board did not cover precisely how he felt. Earth patrols were rarely a treat. Pulled from the streets at 8, he had seen more excitement in his first 8 years than the 20 that followed. Still, it was required of the United Space Corps to do tours back on the home world, and it was nice to step out of the recycled air of a spacecraft, occasionally. Bored, Lieutenant? Unit Commander Brody asked, a smirk twisting his grey mustachioed lips. I love my job, sir, Lieutenant Sky replied absently. To most, Commander Brody came off as an arrogant, jumped-up street kid with a bullying streak wider than the Bering Strait. They never understood his particular brand of humour. It was street humour. Lieutenant Sky did. Perhaps for that reason, he and Commander Brody looked out for each other. In a world filled with privileged snots who bought their commands, Sky and Brody were some of the few who earned it. Unit Commander Brody grinned. The transport stopped in Docking Bay 96 at the USC Vancouver headquarters with a resigned whine. The team stood. The door slid open, and the sudden noise of a bay bustling with personnel filled the transporter. Following Commander Brody, Lieutenant Sky and the rest of Team 6 marched wearily from their transporter towards the barracks. Commander! Commander! An administrative lieutenant called, chasing Commander Brody. The team halted behind the commander, who waited patiently for the man to reach their position. Sorry, sir, he said. Rest will have to wait. You and your team are expected in room 501 for a briefing. We've just done a tour, Lieutenant, Commander Brody said. The lieutenant shrugged, then marched away. Rolling his eyes, the commander trooped his team to the elevators. Man, I just want a shower, Lieutenant Binks said. You'll get it, Lieutenant, Brody said, after. Binks grunted, yes, sir. 5 floors whipped by at an incredible speed, stopping with a stomach-dropping jolt. Gods, I wish they'd fix that, Brody grumbled. He stepped from the elevator and led his team to room 501. Not bothering to knock, he entered, saluted, then paused in surprise at the sight of a paler than usual British ambassador. Gentlemen, Captain Michaels greeted. I know you've had a long night. Please take a seat. The team virtually collapsed into their chairs, exchanging glances with one another and stealing peeks at the ambassador. This is Ambassador Clegg, as I'm sure you're aware, Captain Michaels said. Am I to assume special ops, sir? Brody asked. Almost, the captain said, with a great deal more at stake. Oh? Ambassador Clegg's daughter has gone missing. We fear she may be beyond the fence. She's dead then, Brody said matter-of-factly. The ambassador winced. We don't know that, Captain Michaels said. Yes, Brody said. We do. Nothing living survives out there. If the corpses didn't get her, then the demon sure as hell did. There's no way she's alive. Captain Michaels scowled at Commander Brody and indicated the ambassador, who now looked close to tears. Of course, Brody quickly amended, miracles happen. Captain Michael rolled his eyes and cleared his throat. I understand that yourself and one of your team members are both street orphans. Am I correct? Yes, Commander Brody said guardedly. It was a touchy subject for both himself and his lieutenant. Prejudices against the desperate and destitute of the ghettos often kept either of them from promotion. Is it true that part of your initiation into the street gangs is you had to survive one night beyond the fence? Brody shook his head, but Lieutenant Sky answered, yes, sir. Commander Brody turned to his lieutenant in surprise. Did you? Yes, Sky answered. He looked down at his fingernails, then balled his hands into fists to hide their tremble. What the hell? I heard about that, but no one I know ever did. Brody stared at Skylark with wide eyes. What gang made that a requirement? Gang is perhaps a strong word, the lieutenant said. More like a hungry rabble of kids trying to be tough. There were 5 of us, he said. Only 2 made it back. So, the ambassador said quietly, it is possible. For an 8-year-old who survived on the street, yes. For a girl who has never been anywhere without a nurse, it's a different story. Lieutenant, the captain barked. Lieutenant Sky looked at him a moment, then turned back to the ambassador. Sir, he finished. The ambassador smiled slightly. It's all right, Lieutenant. I'm aware of the chances of my daughter's survival, but I have to do something. So if I'm getting this right, you want us to go beyond the fence and look for your daughter, Commander Brody asked. Or her body, Clegg replied, unable to keep the tremor of grief from his voice. Right, off we go again, I suppose. Not at night, Lieutenant Sky said. You need the entire Corps to take those bastards on at night. They're not nearly as active during the day. Why not? Radiation has made their skin sensitive to light. The sun can burn them to ash. I've heard the same from the turret guards, Lieutenant Binks added, only to be silenced by the glare of both his commander and the captain. The fuck happened out there, Lieutenant? Commander Brody demanded. Sky shrugged. I was late getting back in. They chased me as the sun came up. 2 couldn't find shelter in time. I watched them burn from safely behind the fence. So you are uniquely qualified then, Lieutenant, Captain Michaels said. Sky frowned. I wouldn't say that I was, Captain, he said. You know more than the rest of us. That puts you in command. Sky looked up sharply. Sir? Your command, Lieutenant. I expect you and your team out there the moment the sun comes up. Got it? Glancing uncertainly at his commander, Sky nodded. Sir, yes, sir. Commander Brody. Sir, your assistance has been requested to help quell a gang in Sector Y346. You are to report to Commander Garson at dawn tomorrow. Yes, sir. Good. Dismissed. The team stood and saluted as both Captain and the ambassador left the room. We're all dead, Binks said. Poor bastard, Sky said, his eyes on that haggard figure of the ambassador as he slunk away. All right, shower in bed, folks, Commander Brody said. He looked across and grinned. By your leave, Lieutenant. Sky raised one eyebrow and curled his lip at his commander in distaste. Brody walked away wearing a grin that was closer to a sneer. Man, sometimes I hate that guy, Lieutenant Binks said. Don't take him too seriously, Binky, Sky answered. You lot do what you want. I'll see you at the mess at 0500 sharp. Sir, yes, sir, Binks said with a sharp salute. Stop it, Sky said, walking away. Binks laughed, and the squad disbanded for the evening. Sleep did not come easily to Lieutenant Sky that night. A past he had buried long ago invaded his rest. Memories he had suppressed kept him tossing and turning, his jerky reactions yanking him violently out of his half-sleep, leaving him slick with sweat and fighting back tears. That night beyond the fence was the single most terrible night in his life. It left him a trembling leaf for 3 days before the military police picked him up and took him to base. So tense had his underfed body been that the MPs did not change his crouched position despite lifting him. He rose in the air, hunched over his knees like some bizarre human boulder. He sat like that in the truck the entire way to base, until he fainted from hunger. It took a week after his eyes opened again to get him to acknowledge anyone at all. He did not want to go back. When sleep finally did find him, it arrived in short bursts, and each time ended with Sky almost falling out of his bed as he fought the mutants behind the fence in his dreams. We're jumping ahead a little bit to Chapter 2. Ambassador, Captain Michaels greeted as the Brit walked through the door. You look terrible. Would you like a scotch? The ambassador shook his head. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me wait with you. It saves me a phone call, and, having children myself, I know this must be horrendously difficult. I wouldn't want to be alone. This Lieutenant Sky, he's really the best choice? He's clever, very clever, and he's been there before. Best of all, most of his team, including himself, are infiltrators. What is that exactly? USC terminology has always confused me. They're trained for special missions, Ambassador, specifically for entering hostile areas unnoticed for precision strikes and assassinations. They are also our deadliest hand-to-hand and short weapon specialists. Ah, I see. It just seems... Ambassador? I mean, I appreciate everything you're doing, but if what they say of that place is true, then surely it's suicide. If there is anyone who can get your daughter, Ambassador, it's a team of infiltrators. And if not, the captain said with a shrug, no one's really going to miss a street kid. Looks like the spot, Lieutenant Sky said as he through his communicator. He crouched down by the hole and pulled out a thread stuck to the broken fence while his team covered him, scanning their surrounds for any sign of movement. He stood and held it up. She was wearing pink, That should help us identify the remains. He turned and looked down the abandoned street. All right, pairs. He pointed at Dorman and Spike. Binky, Jack, on me. We travel east. Keep in sight. And whatever you do, stay away from the windows and doors. We sweep the streets first. He flipped open a compartment in his left fan brace and began typing into the console hidden there. Sending rendezvous coordinates. If you don't find anything, we meet there. Then we begin a building sweep. Yes, sir, Binky answered. The team moved into formation. Skylark signaled them forward, and they split up, beginning their search of the streets. This place gives me the willies, Bink said as he covered Skylark's flank. You and me both, Skylark answered. You two mind turning down the chatter? Jack hissed. You're freaking me out. Christ, this place is a maze, Dorman's voice said over the comm. Or was it Spike's? Skylark could not tell. Their search lasted a long time without sign of the girl. Skylark watched the shadows stretch with growing unease as he made his way to the rendezvous point. They arrived to find Spike and Dorman waiting for them. Anything? He asked. Both men shook their heads. Fuck, was Skylark's only response. See that? Binks asked. Skylark turned to spot something shuffling in the shadows. Son of a bitch, it's them, weapons ready. It's not that late, Jack said. No, they must be hungry. What are they? Jack whispered. Muties, most of them sick as dogs. Radiation poisoning, mostly. Fucking great. Radioactive mutants, Binks growled. That's why you're wearing your armor, Binky. All right, pull back. We have to get to the rooftops. Why? Because they're not as good at climbing as they are at running, Binky. Now pull back. The group of 5 withdrew, keeping their eyes and weapons trained on the broiling shadows that hovered at the door of one large building, waiting for the shade to grant them access to their quarry. They're everywhere, Spike said. Skylark glanced over his shoulder to see what that Spike had stopped. He turned, letting Jack and Binks cover him. Spike? He asked. Spike nodded his helmeted head towards another building. The shadows moved just beyond the door. They moved behind every door and every window. The fuck? Dorman asked. Why are there so many? I thought they were sick. Damned if I know, Skylark answered. Perhaps they're breeding. Well, great. Just great. Contact, Jack called before firing a double tap. Something shrieked. Back to the fence, Skylark said. Can't, Spike said. Skylark looked at him, then beyond him. Hordes of mutants shuffled in the shadows, turning them from purple-gray to black. They were mindless, drooling humanoids riddled with odd, oozing growths. Who would want to breed with that? Binky asked. Take it where you can get it, I suppose, Skylark answered. Stay in the sun. Move as a group. The team shuffled back. You do know that the shadows are pushing us deeper, don't you? Spike noted. Yes, Skylark answered. We don't have a choice. The first available sunlit pipe we climb. Now keep moving. Their steps were dogged by the mutants. They kept to the shadows, flitting from building to building with an agility no one would have thought possible. They're faster than I remember, Skylark noted sourly. Fuck, Jack said, firing another double tap. The bullets hit nothing but wall. Shoot at what you can hit. If we're going to be here all night, we'll need to conserve ammo. Yes, sir, Jack said. Keep moving. I don't like this, Binky said. No one does, Binky, Spike replied. Hold, Skylark whispered. Sir, cover me. Dorman and Spike dropped to one knee. Jack and Binky remained standing. Skylark ran forward and picked something up from the ground. It was a scrap of pink satin. He stared down at it a moment before turning his eyes to the ground. There were signs of disturbed gravel, as one might happen in a struggle, but no signs of a body being dragged, and certainly no blood. Sir! Spike yelled a split second before Skylark was tackled to the ground and into the shadows of the nearby building. In the roll to the door, Skylark dropped his gun. Grunting, he kicked off the mutant that had taken him down. It staggered back into the light where his team cut it down. He never saw it fall. Grasping talons from the doorway caught hold of his armor and pulled him into the building. Sky, Binks yelled. Hold your position, Skylark barked over the comm. He fought the attackers off and managed to get to his feet. Completely surrounded by hungry mutants, Lieutenant Sky felt his chest tighten. Sir, Binky's voice said over the comm. Outside, the sound of gunfire filled the air as inside, Skylark forced himself to relax into the fight. If he was going to go out, he'd go out fighting. Grasping, clawed hands flashed out at him. Sky reacted instinctively, his training taken over. His only conscious thought was to get to the door, then to his gun. Instinct and training proved an effective combination. In a desperate move, he dived for the door, taking its remaining guard with him. They landed hard in the dirt. Keeping a firm grip on the mutant, Skylark rolled over into the sun and kicked the creature off him. It shrieked as the sun began to sizzle its skin. Skylark retrieved his weapon and the satin scrap and ran to his team's position. "Welcome back, sir," Spike said. "Move," Skylark barked. The team broke cover and careful to keep as much in the sun as possible, shooting their way clear when sunlight wasn't available. They gathered behind a burnt-out car and turned, their guns ready. "What the fuck?" Binks asked. Skylark frowned. The entire city of mutants had stopped, standing in an undulating line as if held back by an invisible barrier. He turned his attention to the sky. Twilight. There should be nothing stopping them from advancing in a single, devastating line. Then Skylark noticed it, a strange painted symbol on a window nearby. They were in demon territory. Fuck. Fuck, 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 fucking fuck! And that's where I'll stop.